Planet Tech folks are chatty. We had a recent update on Planet Tech from Ali Brown that I went over recently. And he actually did some more talking after that. I don't think they are necessarily as interesting updates. You guys can check those out. I'll leave the link to this website. But also, River Guy, Water Guy, Planet Guy, Moist Master, your dude, your boy, Will Figwig at CIG is also answering some questions on Spectrum about their Planet Tech that I thought we could go over real quick here. It's just a nice quick update. This one's not too fancy, but some interesting topics, I think. So let's start here. First question, basically asking about updates on rivers. The presentation blew him away at CitizenCon, exceeded all expectation, except for one conspicuous absence. He said, I was hoping to catch a glimpse of the future of river tech, seeing as you weren't really satisfied with the way rivers were generated using the first system you developed. In my opinion, rivers add much to a landscape, and all the extra terrain fidelity that Genesis allows makes their absence all the more apparent. So rivers kind of look terrible at times in Star Citizen right now. And I will say I really loved what we saw from, I think it was the very first shot. Nope, it was not. There it is. Not the first shot, this one. The first thing I noticed here was like, oh my God, look at how the grass is just blending into the water. It's amazing. It looks to me like they improved the rivers. Maybe this is more of a pond actually, now that I'm looking more closely. So maybe their pond decals are fine, but their river's not. I don't know. Either way, it does look like some of their water stuff got better, but also at the same time, the current, let me see if I can find like a quick video of somebody flying through them. If you do watch people fly through them currently, they're bad, but I'm not finding anything too recent. Video courtesy of Major Wet Spot. That's boy oh boy, Reddit. People don't like the name Moist Master. How about Major Wet Spot? I think he was just showing people how to get there, unfortunately. Here we go. So, like, it looks pretty bad in my opinion. We're not getting a super detailed view here, but you can just, like, it's so artificial looking. It looks like it's just, it's way too obvious. Even the sides of the canyon walls obviously don't look great, which is something else that they've been working on. The biome near the water doesn't look proper. Like, it's just, in general, I think they need a lot more work. So I agree. It'd be great to hear updates on rivers and caves, to be quite honest. Here's what River Guy had to say about that. He said, hey, I'd love to work more on rivers. I'm definitely not satisfied with how they look and are placed as things stand. A new take on rivers would be a huge boon to the new Planet Tech, though the rather boring answer is it's dependent on having time scheduled to work on them. Surprise. I hope I get to take another swing and more natural looking and more systemic river systems in the future, but when we launch Nyx 1, this won't have happened yet. Thank you, WillHaines, aka Dirt River Guy, aka Moist Master, aka Water Guy, aka Planet Dude. The next question somebody had was about fauna. Yelmerk asked, will Genesis allow for natural spawning of fauna? Right now we get random packs of fauna that are grouped together and just feel like a spawn point was placed and a specific fauna was spawned at that point. Gotta say, as far as fauna go, or as far as really anything goes in this game, I would love to see NPCs spawning on the actual planet surface and doing stuff more often. Ever since they first brought in our navigation, our nav meshes for the planets, they've always placed them right around different points of interest. And you can go back to when they were even talking about it and pull up like the way that they were designing them. For the most part, every time they would design a navigation mesh, it would be based around a point of interest. I still don't know if they have them all over the planet. They've said they do. In the monthly reports, they've said that navigation meshes are created across the entire planet, but you don't find AI really doing much outside of points of interest. So I would love to not only see fauna spawning more realistically and believably in different places and like moving around, but also NPCs. Little camps, maybe like at non-hostile ship crash sites that they just turned into a campsite for a bit or something. I don't know. Anything. Come up with excuses. It'd be nice though, because we all want to see the planet be a little more full. What WillHaines River Dirt Planet Moist Water Guy said was, hey, In Genesis, creatures slash minables slash other resources are distributed very differently to how they currently are. That's already great to hear. The new planetary resource system allows a gameplay relevant things to be spawned according to various distributions, whether that be geology, soil, seed, or more complex groupings of specific climate conditions or required species of plants nearby. So you could tie the animals and where they go to the types of plants that they would eat and make sure they only spawn in places where those plants are. I hope they somehow can program in like migrations, not mass migrations that are huge events or anything, just the idea that animals are actually moving across hills and stuff rather than sitting in one spot and eating the same food day in and day out. He said there's also broader controls to allow designers to control the density of groups and how much of a resource is available on a given planet too. This will come online first for minables, but shortly after for creatures, I'd imagine. I read that very weird, but I'm sure you all understood it. This takes us back to what they said about minables during their Planet Tech demonstration back at CitizenCon, which I was happy to hear, but I'm really looking forward to them expanding a little bit more on this key detail here.
Look like they originated from the same source. And this ties into how we'll be distributing minables in much more interesting ways too.
Because there was also a mention elsewhere at CitizenCon. Here we go. Listen to this.
Levski, but from the rest of the Nix system, and refine and sell those goods there. As a lot of the content in the next coming releases for Nix is going to be mining related. So it's super important that...
Now he does say a lot of the content is mining related. He doesn't necessarily say mining is getting an update. That's what I'm most curious for though. The combination of the idea that the minables will be spawning differently on planets, confirmed both at CitizenCon and now here on Spectrum, along with the idea that they're going to get more mining-focused content and that Nix is heavily reliant on mining. Levski itself is supposed to be heavy in industrial gameplay. I'm really hopeful, but not necessarily expectant, that we will see some pretty interesting developments in mining besides just the difference in where they spawn on planets. But this is good to hear because this is how you start to get people more interested in exploration. Once you know that things spawn in a certain place based on logic, whether it be the rocks, the mountains that you can see, the way that rocks are scattered at the bottoms of mountains, the plants that spawn, you know whether a fauna comes in because you've scanned that area and found a certain plant. All that kind of stuff is how you build exploration in a way where people can get better at it without gamifying it as much. So I think that's really good. That's a good addition. Next question. Is the footage of Genesis shown in-engine or in-game? Recording the beautiful trailers that CIG always shows us, which have nothing to do with the game, I wonder if the Genesis footage is also just pre-rendered material, or actually in-game graphics and physics. After all, last year at CitizenCon 2024, CIG showed us snowstorms, but only 10% of those were implemented in PU and had nothing to do with what was shown. Snowstorms? The dynamic rain? Yeah, maybe that. I don't remember snowstorms. Anyways, the answer from... Will Dirt / Water Guy, Planet Guy, Water Guy, River Guy, Moist Master was, hey, the difference between in-engine and in-game is quite subtle. In Star Engine, the only difference in between them from a graphics perspective is the camera attached to an actor's head or just flying around. To which the answer is that it's flying around the planet on splines that the brilliant Cine guys have made. This works just as well when you attach the camera to a player's head. Similarly, pre-rendered isn't really a thing here. It's filmed in engine as if it were being played. We don't have a way to generate planets or assets, etc. outside of Star Engine. I suppose the only thing that pre-rendered can indicate here is that it wasn't a live demo played in front of a crowd. It was indeed recorded in the weeks leading up to CitizenCon Direct. See, Will, what you're dealing with here is the way that people on the internet assume that they understand everything about how a game works. It's really easy to just say words. Pre-rendered. Pre-rendered is a big one. CG. That's all CG. The whole thing's CG. They used a computer to make every single part of this. Sorry. Is it pre-rendered or in-engine? Or is it in-game or unfiltered? Is it anti-aliased? At the end of the day, it's the graphics that they use to build the game. And they probably will have to do some stuff to optimize it that'll lead to it not looking as good in-game. That's what I always assume with this stuff. It looks beautiful in the videos, but I do think it'll probably, at the very least, look different on my hardware. Beyond the whole idea that it wasn't recorded, he said, that isn't to say we don't boost everything as much as possible for cinematics. Yeah, the freaking hardware is probably top notch. They might even use reshade, who knows. The Cine guys, I guess they don't have to use reshade. They could just change the star engine settings. The Cine guys use what is effectively an ultra system spec. This makes everything look as good as possible by removing optimizations like LODs and boosting the size of shadows, at least shadow atlases and the virtual terrain textures. So yeah, basically he's just saying all the stuff that we've seen is in game. It's running on the absolute best of the best that you can possibly build. So that's not what our stuff's going to look like, at least when we first get it, unless you have something like that. But maybe that's what it'll look like in a few years, you know, when hardware has caught up for the average person. Or a decade. The final question we got here was stars and planets, seasons and temperatures. Dear CIG. First off, Genesis tech looks awesome, the planet and biomes look amazing, and I can't wait to jump in. However, I'd like to point out a few glaring oddities. First, seasons occur because of axial tilt and due to a planet's rotation around their central star, which affects the stellar radiation, heat, and causes systems. Planets in SC are static and the equator aligns with the system's plane. Hence, the planets would have different weather and temperature zones based on the latitude, but no seasons. When talking about stars, they're gonna move the planets. I don't know, man. When people say stuff like that and spill it all out like that, I'm like, do you think they didn't do a Google search? When talking about stars, red means they are colder than blue ones. In terms of energy, blue light means the highest excitation level, hence more energy. So Nyx would be hotter than Pyro. This is also evident in a candle's flame. The blue part is the hottest. Pyro does have a distinction of being a flare star, so the energy output can vary. The user will retort, it's a game, but CIG has painstakingly built a physical system which respects geography and weather, so why not respect it the proper way? Orbits would also make the star system dynamic, rather than us always finding the planets to be fixed. Hold on a second real quick. Are star citizen planets going to orbit? They do not currently orbit, though the code for orbital mechanics exists but is not active. This is due to technical limitations, game engine, quantum travel. It is not enabled by gameplay. Okay, there isn't an easy, I guess there's not an easy answer on here, on this. I would have thought that there was an easy answer because they've said it before, several times. Will/dirt, water, planet, river, lake, moist master guy said, definitely agree with some of your points. Regarding Nyx's star, the star used in the demos for Nyx 1 is not final. When the design for Nyx is finalized, I expect planets will be placed at an appropriate distance from the star, given its heat, to create the temperature we want for those planets. He also said, planets missing orbits and axial tilts is not our final design. Orbiting is currently not implemented because of gameplay and quantum limitations. From our POV, we intend planets to orbit as well as spin, but await work on the gameplay side and final decisions from a broader range of stakeholders. This is, no, they didn't say it would be overkill. They have said multiple times that they're going to have their planets orbit. And they might back down on that at some point, but they're definitely, they have stated multiple times, and I wish I could pull it up right now. I don't know any specific moments when that did happen, but they have stated multiple times that the planets are going to orbit and we're going to have seasons based on those orbits. And this is the kind of funny part where, like, they answer these questions, but somebody else is going to be asking this again in a couple months. I guess you do have answers from other people saying these things as well. That they'll be doing orbits and stuff. But yeah, the way that, holy crap, that's a hell of a answer. Yeah, they've talked about it in the past. This is the thing with Star Citizen. They've talked about a lot of stuff in the past. It's not easy to find that information. A Google search didn't pull it up. I honestly thought it would have. But, nope.